GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
What up? It's the Chris Caden. That's right. I am Chris Caden, and you are listening to the All Bets Are Off podcast. Bam!
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the Rockstar Robbie Vegas, and welcome back to another episode of the All Bets Are Off podcast. And today we have an interview with a very special guest, the one and only Colin Delaney. You may remember Colin from his initial run in WWE when they revised ECW. You may know Colin from recently seeing him on AEW Dark or anywhere in between. He's been all over the place. He's still all over the place. He's taken over the indies, and he's one of the most well-known, popular, and nicest guys you're going to meet. So I'm really looking forward to bringing you guys this interview. But before we do, I do need to let you know that today's episode is presented by Purple Carrot. Purple Carrot is the plant-based subscription meal kit that makes it easy to cook irresistible meals to fuel your body. Each week, choose from an expansive and delicious menu of dinners, lunches, breakfasts, and snacks. Every box is an opportunity to learn and experience something new with easy recipes and fresh, pre-portioned ingredients. No shopping, no food waste. Just globally inspired, restaurant-quality, plant-based meals. Get $30 off your first box by going to purplecarrot.com and entering code PODGO30 at checkout today. That's PODGO30 for $30 off your first Purple Carrot box. Purple Carrot, the easiest way to eat more plants. So, let's not waste any more time and get Colin on the phone.
For me, but you look for trouble. You're gonna see that your words are dangerous, your talk is cheap. So now I'm standing here. You tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a child when you see me standing here.
Colin, the first thing I want to do is thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, man.
Hey, dude, anytime, no problem.
The cool thing about today is that I've been in locker rooms with you like 100 times, and I've never asked you any of these questions, so this is going to be new for me, too.
I feel like that's probably a good number of people because I don't know how many people just come up and ask me random questions when I'm in the locker room.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it's a respect thing, you know? You don't want to bother with, like, tell me about this and tell me about this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I'm cool with it. I don't mind, but I definitely get what you're saying. I would, at times, find it weird if some guy just came up to me and was like, I gotta ask you, what was it like wrestling Big Daddy V? I'd be like, hey, man, maybe not the time.
Right, exactly. And that's always what runs through my head. I'm like, there's a couple matches I want to ask him about. Maybe another time.
Perfect. Now we have that time.
Yes, that's right. So I want to go back farther than that, though, and I just want to know what made you a fan of pro wrestling to begin with.
Wrestling was just something I always loved. Some of my earliest memories of just life are wrestling memories. You know, like I remember before I could read, my brother would read the names off the TV so I'd know who was like wrestling or who was about to wrestle, and just begging my parents to let me stay up late so I could catch the very first Monday Night Raw. You know, it was always something that I loved, and it was always what I wanted to do.
So you knew from like a really young age that you something was calling you towards that then?
Yeah, some people grew up and they wanted to be an astronaut or a doctor or a lawyer or a pilot or something. I wanted to be a pro wrestler, and that's just all I wanted to be, and so that's what I strive to do.
So what year did you actually start training, and where did you start training?
So I started training here in Rochester when the Kayfabe Dojo first opened, which is the school for... It's now Upstate Pro Wrestling. It was NWA Upstate. It's RP, Rochester Pro Wrestling at a time. It's been a bunch of different things. But yeah, the upstate school in 2003, I started training, early 2003.
Awesome. Okay. I was a sophomore in high school.
Hey, listen, if you were a sophomore in high school when I started training, that's fine. It's when people are like, I saw you on TV when I was in middle school. And I'm like, that's old. I'm old.
Yeah, I guess sophomore in high school doesn't sound too bad then.
No, because when I first started training, I was 16. So I was technically would have been a junior or senior in high school anyways.
Okay, very cool. Then in 2007 is when you first came on to WWE television, and that was pretty early for you then. So, like, walk me through how that all happened and how you ended up even getting that contract so quickly.
Yeah, it was pretty early. I mean, I had already been doing quite a bit on the independents. You know, I'd already been doing Chikara and worked for CZW and working UWA Hardcore up in Toronto, which is like a lost hidden gem, but was like a big indie deal back in the early 2000s. So I was already kind of making a name for myself, but that it honestly had nothing to do with getting to WWE. Brody Lee was doing extra work for WWE at the time. He didn't even have a job yet. And he called me up on the phone and said that they needed somebody to get beat up by Shelton Benjamin on TV that night, and everybody they had was essentially too big for the role. So I rushed down to the arena, and they put me against Shelton, and they liked it so much, they asked me to come back next week, and next week turned into another week, which turned into another week, which turned into another week.
Wow. So that was just like fate. It just kind of rolled right into it just from one phone call.
Yeah. I mean, as the story goes, apparently while I'm in the ring getting tossed around by Shelton Benjamin, Vince McMahon is on the headset for all, like, everyone to hear, being like, who is this kid? That's how you bump! That's how you sell! Who is this kid?
That's excellent. So then they bring you in, and you end up with their rebranding of ECW, and you worked a lot with Tommy Dreamer. So what was that like? Yeah,
but that was crazy because, you know, I grew up a big fan of Tommy Dreamer. He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. And one of my other favorite wrestlers was Mikey Whipwreck. And essentially now I was doing a Mikey Whipwreck role with Tommy Dreamer. So, like, just the way everything panned out, when I took a step back and looked at it, I was like, this is insane. But working with Tommy, either teaming with him or wrestling against him was always a lot of fun. He was always looking out for me, you know, even just backstage and stuff, and making sure I was where I needed to be and wasn't where I shouldn't have be. In
that time where you were working with Tommy and you're doing the ECW thing, what would you say was your biggest either moment or match, or what stands out to you when you look back at that time now?
Yeah, I really liked the match with Miz and Morrison, the Extreme Rules match with Miz and Morrison, and all the stuff we did with Miz and Morrison was a lot of fun. I mean, we were wrestling for the WWE tag team titles. Like, we didn't win them, but still to even wrestle for those belts, wrestle in a match to potentially win those belts is a crazy thought to me.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody like how you were saying you grew up, like, with your earliest memories being of wrestling, that had to just be like a mind-blowing moment in general.
Yeah, I challenged for the tag team titles against Miz and Morrison. I wrestled Edge when he was world champion at the time. I went out for the ECW heavyweight title against Chavo. So, like, you know, I don't know. It's I guess I didn't win any of them, but it's still cool to think, like, oh man, like that's the belt that I watched my whole life. That's the belt that, you know, the Road Warriors held. You know, those are the titles that you know, the New Age Outlaws held, and I'm wrestling for these titles. Yeah, absolutely. So, what would you say is your biggest takeaway from your time with the WWE? WWE is a different animal. There's so much more that goes into WWE than is just wrestling. Being an independent wrestler does not prepare you for WWE. I mean, it does it like a baseline. Like, sure, you know how to take a bump and give a body slam, but it's such a bigger production that indie wrestling could never prepare you for. It makes you like really understand why they've always kind of had a developmental system.
Now, and you didn't go to, I think they were using OVW still at the time, right? Did you end up having to go there at all?
Well, so, right, once again, I can see why they have one, and I never went to one. They never sent me. I just kind of went straight to the road, which I heard was not taken well by some of the guys who were in developmental. At the time, they had OVW and they had Deep South, but they were just getting ready to transfer everything to FCW, which would now become NXT.
Yeah.
So I think it was a combination of a couple things. I mean, they were moving and shifting things around, and I'm not sure they knew or thought what they had with me. So they just kind of kept rolling, kept running with the hot hand at the time, and didn't really put any thought into moving me anywhere. Do
you remember how many matches you had on television before they actually offered you a contract?
So I got offered a contract. It was after I wrestled Khali. It was the week after I wrestled Khali. I remember because I was like, I can't get any bigger. They're not going to be able to put me with anybody bigger. So maybe this is it. And I'm pretty sure they were trying to just off me right there. They were like, not off me storyline wise. I'm pretty sure they were like, if we just killed the kid here, we don't really got to pay him anymore.
So when you're coming out with all the bandages and everything on, that was just legit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't, but some of it could have been.
Right.
But the next week I was wrestling, they brought me back after that, and I was like, oh, well, that's a good sign, because I don't know how they have me wrestle anybody bigger than the great Khali. And it was a handicap match with Miz and Morrison. We were in Houston, Texas, and they told me that they were going to give me a contract. So I guess week 5, I'd been there for a month already. 6 weeks. So Shelton Benjamin, Mark Henry, Big Daddy V, Kane, Great Khali. So it would have been after the 5th week.
Wow. That had to be such a mind-blowing moment, too.
It was crazy. It was, I mean, yeah, I had hoped for something like that, but who knows? I was just happy to be there. I was just happy to be around. And I had my first drop of alcohol that night.
Really?
In my entire life, yeah.
First time ever, the night that you got a contract.
Yep, I got offered my WWE contract. We went out in Houston, Texas, and I went out with everybody, and I had a shot. It was something fruity, and the rest is history.
And then fast forward years down the road, I'm working at BCW, and I go out with you and John McChesney, and we'll save that story for off-air.
Oh, man.
You talked earlier about how it's like a whole different animal when you're in WWE, so was it like a big adjustment for you to return to the indie scene after you'd already been there?
Not really, because I wasn't gone that long. Like, I did my first thing with WWE in December of 2007, and then I got released in August 2008. So I wasn't even there a full year. Mm-hmm. So no, not really. I mean, I would still, like, a lot of times if I was in a new city, I would find a wrestling school there, and I would, I would go work out at the wrestling school. So I was always staying fresh and staying, acclimated to moving around in the ring and having actual matches, because a lot of times in WWE, I was just getting my shit beat in, so there wasn't really, I wasn't getting to hone my wrestling ability all the time.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So who are some of your favorite, like, indie promotions to work for, whether, back then or current?
I've been kind of all over. Back then, like I said earlier, there was a place called UWA Hardcore. They ran out of the Toronto area, and they would have Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin and Sanjay and Josh Prohibition and M-Dog, and they'd bring in, like, the Ultimo Dragon and all this crazy stuff. It was like this cult atmosphere. It was super cool. Chikara was a big part of my life. A lot of those guys from there were like family, because to a point we were doing like double or triple shots every month. So you travel with those guys, you room with those guys, you go to dinner with them, you hang out with them afterwards, you wrestle everybody twice, 3 times. I don't know. I've had the privilege of working for a lot of great places. 2CW out of the Syracuse area, which unfortunately is also gone. All these places are gone. What a bummer. This this segment's bumming me out, man.
I'm sorry, that wasn't the intention. I was trying to shine some light on the indies.
Those are all great places that I used to work with, and that I had a lot of fun at. Currently, AIW has been somewhere that I've wrestled for the past, I don't even know, like 7 years or something crazy like that. And that's become like my home away from home. And they just get bigger and do more cool, awesome stuff every year. And I have no doubt they'll be back better than ever once the world returns. Of course, ESW in Buffalo, another one that just like seemingly always gaining steam and going forward and having bigger shows and cooler shows and getting more buzz. And then during this pandemic era here, I got to do some shows for Black Label Pro, which is out of the Indiana area, and Black Label Pro is super cool and super fun. And I like the way they handled everything during pandemic, and they, made a very safe, fun, and meaningful atmosphere to wrestle in. So I appreciate that.
That's excellent. That's cool to hear, too, because this pandemic has been just slapping the wrestling business around like crazy. So we've had a few people on who they're not really getting a lot of work right now, but it still seems like certain guys out there, yourself included, do still find work. So is it like a weird thing to have such a break after you've been doing this for so long?
Yes. When this whole thing first started, it was the longest I'd ever been out of a wrestling ring since I started 17 years ago. Because even when even if I didn't have shows or even in my off time, I would still be wrestling. I would still be, up at the school here or finding somewhere to get in the ring to wrestle. So yeah, it has been weird. But honestly, after 17 years, my body probably needed the break. But I don't know. I love to wrestle. It's all I've ever known. It's what I've poured my heart and soul and life into. So it's weird to have it just kind of poof on you.
Well, for 17 years, you've been in a ring, so this next question is going to be really hard for you. So who are some of your favorite opponents over the years?
Yeah, see, that's impossible. No, so the funny part about the fact that I now team with Cheech is that Cheech is a guy who I used to wrestle all the time. We were paired off together, whether it be tag when I was with my old partner Jimmy and he was with Cloudy, or just singles because we were both, well-traveled and experienced guys from the same area. Mm-hmm. So Cheech has always been one of my favorite guys to wrestle with, so it makes it easier when we team. Man, I don't know. I've gotten the chance to wrestle so many cool people throughout my time in wrestling. Chris Hero is one that comes to mind. Chris Hero's like a guy who I've always looked up to, and I love his style and the way he wrestles. And any chance there's even I don't do a whole lot of seminars nowadays, but I will pay out of pocket if Chris Hero is teaching, because I know even after 17 years, I definitely have something to learn from Chris. But yeah, guys like Dalton Castle, guys like Eddie Edwards, guys like, I'm just trying to think of some fun ones off the top of my head. Team out of Cleveland area, the Philly Marino Experience. Me and Cheech went to war with them over the past 2 years and had some really, really great matches that I cherish a lot.
Now, you mentioned Cheech being one of your favorite opponents, but he's also your partner now. So when did that happen? Did you guys just come together and decide that you should just team up, or did you get put together and it just kind of worked?
We've always joked about it because, we have a very famous match against one another, me and Jimmy against him and Cloudy from the ECW arena, mm-hmm. that a lot of people remember and enjoy. So we always joke that, Jimmy was done wrestling and Cloudy wasn't really traveling much. So we were just the other guys. We were the guys still out there, and we should just team and we should be the other guys. But then it kind of just happened. We just got paired together kind of because we were like from Rochester in Cleveland. We were just Rochester guys, and we were kind of grouped up together, and we teamed, and it went well, and then we kind of just ran with it from there. Excellent.
And now you guys have a podcast together, too. Can you tell me what that's all about?
Yeah, so during pandemic, to keep my brain active and moving, I had an idea and me and Chicha do a podcast, and we talk about tag team wrestling. And each week we pick a different tag team, and we separate and we study matches of that team, and we come back together and we talk about what made that team work and what made that team so great. Call it dream work, because teamwork makes the dream work.
Perfect. I thought it was like a Disney nod, like, DreamWorks. Next thing I want to talk about is actually, you mentioned earlier about Chris Hero seminars and things like that, but do you find yourself doing seminars when you're out on the road too?
I used to do more. I haven't done one in a hot minute. That's not to say that I wouldn't or don't like to. I always like to. I like to teach. I like to pass my knowledge on, because if we're not doing that, I don't know what we are doing. I was supposed to do one a couple months ago that got canceled just because the world is wacky. But no, I said on Twitter the other day that I'd love to do a tag team seminar. I'd love for me and Cheech to get brought somewhere to help tag teams hone in on their thing, because it's something that a lot of times you either have or you don't. And once you kind of understand tag team wrestling, I think all wrestling becomes a little easier.
Is it an end goal for you to, when you're done with your in-ring work, to just continue teaching or training or anything like that?
I don't know. We were talking about this the other day. I've already come to grips with the fact that I will be involved with wrestling till the day that I die. It's in my blood. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So there's really no escaping it. But what route I take once my in-ring career is done, I'm not totally sure. Training is something that I'm always into. I also love doing like commentary and stuff like that. A lot of the booking and promoting and all that stuff never really appealed to me. But, who knows? I'll be involved one way or another. I'm just not exactly sure how yet.
I mean, that's a fair answer. Now, after being in the business for, close to 20 years, do you still find yourself having like a bucket list of opponents and still trying to, check people off your list, or do you just kind of take it as it comes?
I guess a little of column A, little of column B. I want to wrestle everyone. Everyone who's good at this, everyone who, is doing it at a high level, I want to wrestle them, because I myself feel like, every year I just get better and enjoy it more and want to wrestle other people who are also doing it at a very high level. So I don't think I have a specific list, but it's silly to say everyone, but I do. I want to wrestle everyone.
Well, you're one of those guys in the wrestling business that I feel like everybody knows, everybody respects, everybody wants to learn from and work with. And in recent years, I've seen you back on WWE television, working Ring of Honor, AEW Dark. So what would you say is the reason why you've been able to stay in such a prominent role within the wrestling business for so long? Because you've never just gone away. You've never faded away. It's just Colin is everywhere. And that's the way I always remember it being personally.
Yeah, you just stay active. I mean, I don't know. This business can beat you down. You can let it, for sure. Opportunities aren't coming. You're getting passed up. Other people are getting those good opportunities. Other people are getting jobs. You're not. But you just keep pushing forwards. You just always make strides to be better. And a lot of it, like, I don't know, like any business, it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And over the last 17 years, I've gotten to know and be friendly and become friends with a lot of people in a lot of different places. So, keeping up with my old friends sometimes comes to a weird, wacky opportunity that I didn't necessarily see coming. But I don't know, just be a good dude, and good things usually come out of it, I guess.
Did you find it was pretty much a natural progression for you to just evolve within the business, or was it something you had to sit down and like, all right, here's what I need to do to go into these next few years, or how did that work for you?
No, man, I didn't think about any of that stuff. I never did. I should have. When I look back at it, and I'm like, oh man, if I'd have done this, things could have gone differently. But that's always like a hindsight thing, and there's no real point in going backwards and regretting things and thinking about what you could have done. But no, I've always just taken it as it comes. I I do a lot of short-term goal type of things, like, you know, whether it's, like I've already said this, upcoming 2021, I want to knock 2 more states off my list. I think I only have 12 to go until I've done all 50, so I want to try and knock 2 off. So, like, you know, small goals and things like that. But no, I didn't really map this thing out.
So, just a slight curve away from wrestling, but do you have any kind of, like, music that you listen to that gets you pumped up for, like, a match or in the gym, or, like, something that you train to that's, like, your go-to music?
My playlist is so stupid. It is, and it's like, it's not, I don't do it out of, like, an irony thing, like, people think this is funny, but, like, there's way too much Josie and the Pussycats on my gym playlist. And, like random Disney songs, and, like, just, if I hear a song and I think it's fun, I'll just throw it on a playlist. I like fun, like, BS poppy music. I do. I just always have.
I mean, that kind of fits the personality that you have in the locker room, though, because you're one of the most upbeat, positive guys that I think I've ever been in a locker room with, every time. I don't think I've ever seen you in a bad mood.
Yeah, I mean, we all get in bad moods, but I always try and keep a positive attitude. I always have. I mean, especially in a wrestling sense, like, what's there for me to be upset about? If I'm in a locker room, that means that I'm doing what I love. I'm getting ready to go out to the ring to do this thing that I've dedicated my life to, and I love that, and I'll never, you know, that's why you rarely see me in a bad mood at a wrestling show.
Yeah, I guess that would be true, yeah. Tell me now, what's next for you? Not even necessarily in the bigger picture, like, do you have shows coming up? I know we're still in the pandemic, but, like, what's going on with Colin?
I don't have any shows coming up, like, nothing set in stone. Towards the end of this year, anything that I did have got canceled as things started kind of slowing down and whatnot, and I was fine with that, because I was, during this pandemic era, it gave me a chance to be a little more choosy with the shows that I did. I only wanted to do shows that I felt were being done safely, and also had some kind of, were going to help me be out there and seen. Like, you know, I wasn't going to just do a show to do a show. Yeah. I wanted it to have a little bit of purpose, have some eyes on it, have some meaning. So I guess until shows like that come back, I'm pretty cool just sitting it out and relaxing. Like I said, I do the podcast with Cheech. I've been trying to teach myself some different skills on the computer to, like, put together clip videos and whatnot. It's going very slowly. I am very tech illiterate. But I'm trying. And yeah, just making sure that when things are back to, you know, somewhat normal, which I'm hoping will be in the next couple months, that I am ready and I'm as good, if not better than before. I mean, I'm still working out every day and trying to keep myself fit and in shape and ready for whatever the next opportunity is, because you never know when it's going to come.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You can get a call at any moment. So you're not just laying down and kind of taking it easy. You found different creative outlets and you're still training in the process. I think that's huge. But
let me tell you, when this whole pandemic thing first hit, whoo, buddy, I was a big waste of space. For a good, a good couple months, I just sat on my couch and drank beer. Like, you know, you couldn't do anything else. There wasn't anything else to do.
Yep.
I just had wrestling ripped out of my hands, you know, which is the only thing that I've known to do. And I just was like, screw this. Couldn't even tell you what a push-up looked like. I was just like, I don't care. How many more beers do I have before I have to get more?
Well, at the same time, though, like, I don't know if this was your mindset, but it was definitely mine. I didn't think it was going to last that long. So for me, I was like, yeah, let's take like a month off and just kind of hang out, and I'm not going to kill myself in the gym every single day. I have no shows coming up. And I thought after a month of that, I'd be ready to go and hit it hard, and it just never happened.
Nope, not me. Because I was supposed to go down to the Blue Cross for AEW. And then that got rug pulled out because that show got canceled, and that like bummed me out big time. And then all the shows Mania week that I was supposed to do, all that stuff in Tampa got canceled. And then I realized, oh, this is going to be a minute. We're about to be in this. So then I was like, screw this. I am out.
So how did you get yourself back into the motion of like, all right, I got to start training again just in case? Because if you were bumming that hard, like what was that wake up moment where you're like, all right, let's get this shit together?
I don't know if I had a wake up moment. I literally just did that. I was like, quit being stupid. Quit feeling sorry for yourself. Like, get up and start doing. Like, you have to. You have to.
Yeah, right.
You can't let this beat you, but for I'll say a good month I let it beat me. And every once in a while, I'll still be like, man, this sucks. And I'll just like get down about it and try and then I'm like, wait a second, quit being stupid, quit feeling sorry for yourself, and go to the gym or go out to the garage and lift weights or whatever it is.
Well, man, I'm definitely looking forward to wrestling coming back and sharing a locker room with you again. And before I let you go today, one thing I want to ask is for you to plug the podcast with Cheech one more time and just tell us when the new episodes drop, and then just plug all your social media so any listeners who don't follow you can start following you.
Yeah, man. So the podcast is called Dreamwork. It drops every Thursday, as long as, once again, I'm pretty tech illiterate, and I'm the one doing all this. So if there's anything, like, technically wrong or, like, any work I have to put into this, really, sometimes it takes me longer than a day to put it out. But usually it drops Thursday night. It's at Dreamwork Pod on Twitter. And then you can find it on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the usual suspects. Our last episode was about the Holy Demon Army of Kawada and Taue. Maybe not, if you're not like, like that's a little outside the box for most wrestling fans. But the week before we did the New Age Outlaws, so you're fine. We try to have a broad spectrum of teams we talk about. Right. I have no idea who we're talking about this week yet.
Okay, very cool. So where can we find you on social media?
So I am on Twitter at Extremely Cute. I got on that Twitter game real early, so fun names like at Extremely Cute were still just floating around there in the world. So at Extremely Cute on Twitter, at Extremely Colin on Instagram. I have a Facebook, but, it's kind of like my Facebook. You can try and add me, but unless we have, 400 mutual friends, you probably will just sit in Facebook purgatory.
All right, fair. All right, cool, man. Well, thank you for doing the show, man. I really appreciate it, because, like I said, I wanted to ask you stuff for years, but it just didn't seem right, so.
Yeah. Next time we're in a locker room together, just pop one of those questions off.
I just might. I'll tell you this. When you got back from WWE and you were doing the indies again, I came to a show. I wasn't even... I wasn't even a trainee yet. And I have somewhere, I'll have to try and dig it out, an autographed picture of you in the black and red gear that you used to wear in WWE.
Wow,
yeah.
Nice. A couple of years ago, I tried to get rid of all of them. I tried to just, purge myself of all of those WWE pictures. But then I get, brought in to do autograph signings at different, conventions and stuff, and they just give me all the extra pictures. So I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to get rid of these. I think it's the universe's way of saying, don't get rid of these pictures, dummy. People like them.
Yeah, right. Or just, walk around town, just hang them up in random places, whatever.
Yeah, sometimes I do. I used to keep some in my car, and, if I would see, my buddy's car at the gym or whatever, I would sign one and leave it on his dash.
That's awesome. That is great. Well, man, thank you again. I really do appreciate this. I've been meaning to ask you for a while, so thanks for being cool and coming on.
Dude, anytime.
All right, rockers, so that was the Extremely Cute Superstar, if you remember him from WWE ECW, Colin Delaney. And, man, just good stories and great career and still going strong after 17 years. So make sure you follow him. Listen to his podcast with Cheech, another one of my favorite opponents. We'll probably have to have Cheech on soon. But thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you next time on the All Bets Are Off podcast.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.